Check it out. Deep dive. O.C.D. People love to talk about it. People like to throw it around. I turned it into a framework, and I'm kind of leveraging people's familiarity with OCD to make this lesson stick here. What we're really hammering home here is by observing actions, we map our improvements. Now, this is a real deal thing in life. What gets measured gets improved is another way to say it. But the whole goal, the whole point of this in the OCD framework, it boils it down pretty good. Makes it as simple as it could really get. However, if you leverage different tools or different methods to at least watch things in your life. When I say things, I mean actions, what you eat, what you buy, where you walk, how you exercise, how you treat people, whether or not you lie or not, how you speak, do you curse? If you were to somehow come up with a way, right, to observe what you're doing, this part happens. It just happens. Like the thought about what you're doing will, when I say thought, is or observation, it promises the improvement. You will naturally lean into a better place by observing what you got going on. Now, the trick is gaining objective observation, right? So the O, right, is objective observation. Observation, but it's a specific kind, right? Because you've got objectivity and subjectivity. Subjectivity is loaded with all kinds of opinions and emotions and all different types of baggage, right? Objectivity is more realistic, right? It's more accurate. So, accurate, right? When you're being objective about something, you're not coming at it loaded with all the types of things that you can't measure. This is why objectivity is typically best found through measurement, but not everything is able to be measured. Sorry, I'm talking a little bit quickly there, but so this objective observation is getting the truth. I mean, that's really what we're looking for right here is the truth, right? The truth of where you're at, right? The truth about what you're actually doing. This is a very big struggle for people that aren't sober. That old phrase, like, how do you know an alcoholic's lying? Well, their mouth is moving. This is a big deal. And so in the sober to super program, like we've gotten the sobriety. So maybe we've definitely gained more truth in our life, and maybe we've gone about it in different ways. And that's not too important at this stage of the program. What is important is that you find a way to achieve the objectivity, right? How do we get to the truth? And so, as I mentioned, measurements really help with that. Measurements help with that. A collective opinion, like if a bunch of people all kind of think the same thing, most times it's true. Most times, like if you were an alcoholic, or say, let's not go negative, let's go really good here. If like thousands of people really think that you're great at singing, There's chances are that's the truth. You are good at singing, and so you can kind of bounce uh, your thoughts off of other people's thoughts to gain objectivity. Right now, that's you can measure it, I guess, by the number of opinions or the number of people that you ask, but it's still their opinions. And I had mentioned that subjectivity it involves opinions, but when you add a certain amount of volume, you can get a level of truth. You can find it in there. We don't quite know if they're accurate or not. So there's ways to get there. There's ways to get that objectivity in our observation. Um, maybe we can make it a little bit simple here. An objective observation would be the scale. You step onto the scale and it gives you a number, right? Now, that number could be different depending on how old you are, tall you are, things of that nature. But it will give you a number, and that's reality. That's what you weigh, right? That's an objective observation. Now, you dive into it a little bit deeper. You use that observation, that measurement, and apply it. And so here we get to the second portion is the correction, right? So the correction is like, okay, and this could be, going back to the scale, because we just use that example. You step on the scale and it says 200 pounds. And most of your life you were around 150, and it's like 50 extra pounds than you thought was the number you were going to see, or it's highly above your average. Okay, now what you're seeing in this objective observation is you need a correction. It's like, okay, I've identified, right? So you identified something either wrong or something that can be improved, or it can also be good observations. But in the particular OCD method right here, we're looking for something to get better at, right? We're looking for improvement. The idea is sober to super, right? So we are kind of weeding out the portions or the variables in our lives that uh, that need or can be corrected. The correction in OCD, right? So we've got O, we got the C, right? Then we've objectively observed something about ourselves, right? We have identified the correction. Oh, damn, I'm a little overweight, or let's go with something maybe a little less offensive, like a objective observation. You know, it's like you hear several times in a day, you need to get a haircut. And then you say, okay, well, I've identified by bouncing this observation off other people. I'm seeing that there's a correction that could be used here. And the final one is do. Now, this is kind of high level. We're going to get a little bit more specific for the program. Is do. Do it different, right? Do it different, right? This is imperative, right? Without the action, right? If you, it's like, oh man, yeah, I'm overweight. I figured that part out. But if you don't switch things up, if you don't apply some action, we're dead in the water. All right, it's back to the OCD, objective observation, correction. Do it different. Now, there's something that I'd like to point out. A lot of times, we get this far, right? But the do sometimes escapes us. Now, I did mention earlier that just simply by observing, right, just simply doing this part, in time, you'll see a level of your awareness goes up, and then you'll see what needs to be done different, and then there will be a change. Make no mistake about it. You'll start to make some type of change. Now, the degree to which you change is really kind of how hard you really go into this. Maybe you draw a line in the sand and you've dedicated to changing your actions, and that's most likely how you've gotten sober. In a perfect world, this process will gain you the superpower of anticipation. Through observing and identifying corrections to make, you can get ahead of doing it wrong, if that makes sense. So you do this enough, you observe enough, right? These will be identified just by uh, organizing your observations. These will be identified naturally. And then you can get ahead of doing it wrong, right? So you can actually intercept, right? Through anticipation, you can intercept right there. You can intercept the do it wrong and do it differently. Now, at first, it won't happen that easily. But again, through repetition and doing this over time and applying this method over and over and over again, it will happen. You start by writing down every day what you've done, and then by observing it, you can say, "I'll be damned! Like I did this. I'm not happy about that. I did it 5 times. I'm not cool with that." And then the next day, you might end up doing the same damn thing. That you haven't really made a declaration of doing it differently, but the observation's there, the identification of the corrections are there, right? And then over time, you're going to say, it gets built into your time in your day by observing either after the fact or before the fact. By this observation will eventually lead to the anticipation of doing it in a particular fashion, and you can stop it, right? And this is imperative, right? The change, right? This is what this represents right here, is a change. It's a change in your behavior. What I want you to take away from this framework is to combine it with the embracing the ideal challenges, the goal spectrum, right? Because we've got our goal spectrum, we've got our ideal goal, and then you perform an iteration here, right? So this is try. We'll call this, try one, right? Effort one, iteration one, right? And then between try one and try two, right? So then, and the more tries, the more iterations that you get, the more that you'll be able to apply knowledge from all of the different efforts. But so from try one to try two, right? You want to perform the O.C.D. framework. So you try it one time, and then you kind of either take a break or you assess it, right? You're observing this try. How did I do? I ran a race. There was 100 people in the race. I ranked, 30th. How do you feel about that? Okay. So I remember during the race I was dehydrated. So you objectively observe the effort, the iteration, and try one, right? And then you say, oh, well, I didn't drink a whole lot of water the night before, right? So then you do it differently. Try two, right? Second iteration. But on this one, we drink more water, right? So here we have this iteration. And then now let's hold it equal that we're doing the same goal. We run the same length of a race. So we join, it's a 5K, we'll call this a 5K, right? And then we do another 5K, right? So now what we've done is we have objectively observed the first try, the first iteration. We've made a correction, and now we're doing it different. How did we do it different? We drank more water. Try two, second iteration. It's another 5K, same damn distance, right? But now we do it again. I got all backwards on you there. Okay, so then we do it again. We do it again. O.C.D. Objective. We run it again, and then we observe it, Okay, we drink more water. How do we do? Say we increased our position in the final ranking of the race winners, right? And then I'll say, well, can we do? Is there another correction that we can make, right? And you do this infinitely, right? So then here's iteration 3, but then we want 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Now that's if we have the appropriate style of goal here and we want to become a marathon runner, right? So we're running back this 5K. But the idea is do these iterations and they're repeating this process, we get good. We get damn good. And we get damn good damn fast, right? So right. So I want you to take away this the two frameworks, right? We've got the goal spectrum and then we've got the OCD framework. And, this is just two of our system here, but important nonetheless. So that's our deep dive into the OCD and some application into the system.